those who are joining on in for the first time, I am DisBearity, writing content creator here on YouTube. I love RTS games, turn-based strategy, and also RPGs. And so every once in a while, I like to cover some gaming news, live on streams, like my real raw reaction, I guess you could say, right? So here we're going to be reading an article from Games Radar, right? So it says compromises were made. Space Marine 2 dev admits the shooter story was limited by its 3-player co-op and they could have done more. So let's figure out why and what they mean by this. So if the three-person squad weren't permanently glued together, let's see. So I want to make sure. All right. So Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 titular suits of beefy terror are the perfect vehicle for the game's bombastic action. Having 3 of them on screen at all times is also what limited its developers' ambitions. So what you're telling me is that you could have done more. So could y'all have done, like, I mean, they could have created this game to be single player. I mean, or they could have probably created this game to be 4-player, but we'll have to wait and see and keep on reading why. Space Marine 2 has courted tons of praise for how it successfully returned to a simpler Xbox 360 formula. And that's actually, I'm not gonna lie, it did feel like that classic, 360 PS3 era of gaming. Give players a kick-ass chainsword in the game with an awesome campaign, co-op functionality, and straightforward PvE mode. But Saber Interactive's creative director Oliver Hollis admitted that compromises were made to get the entire campaign playable in 3-player co-op. Okay, now let's figure out what kind of compromises these were. So speaking to Games Radar, Hollis explained that the development team could have done way more if supporting characters Gadgero and Charon weren't glued to the main Titus, or the main man Titus, for the whole campaign runtime. I mean, but with that said though, said and done, isn't that a direct 4-year choice though? Because the game could have been single player, and that's sort of, you could have kept it at that. The game didn't have to be co-op. You could have just made it single player and then had multiplayer functionality. Still had operations, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, that's how I see it. I would say we could have more control over them going off and doing their own thing, like even becoming a source of conflict during the mission. Warhammer Space Marines are uniquely tied to their stock inhumanness. The development team couldn't squeeze out their personality by, let's say, making them have a heart-to-heart. Instead, Saber Interactive turns to conflict and has 2 other Marines suspect Titus of heresy at one point. I mean, yeah, okay, a storyline that quickly fizzles out because of that co-op through line. These 3 men need to stay together no matter what. I mean, yes and no. I think if it was done right, I feel as though we could have done 3 separate campaigns in one mission, as in, like, if done interwovenly, right, we could have each fought 3 different enemies and stuff, in order to get that achievement that, like, yes, if they feel like Titus was being heretical at one point, and then it turns out, oh, it was Zeech is doing, then that's a big thing here. I mean, it all depends though. But like I said, this all could have been done if they would have just made this game a single player experience. Not everything has to be multiplayer centric, but they want it to be multiplayer centric because battle passes, like service season passes, whatever you want to call it. Now in this game, its season pass is mostly just skins, and that's like a $40 price tag. So if you're a person that's into skins, then of course it makes perfect sense. So it's okay. So let's see here. Let's catch up to where I was here. So one of the levels we tried to do that is where Charon goes rogue on his own and gets separated from the rest of the squad. Hollis continued, and that was us really trying to stretch out, so it felt like they were divided for a time. But yeah, the closer we could get is Gadgero and Titus almost kill each other in the cinematic, and then we got to go back into battle again as the 3 main teams. So yeah, the co-op thing makes that kind of, and I can see that though. I mean, that part was kind of cool though, because it was like, yeah, your one ally, was fighting against waves and waves of enemies here, Thousand Suns, while your teammates have to sit there and back them up. One of your teammates needs to fight the oncoming onslaught, while the other one backs up your teammates. So, that was actually that's kind of cool and kind of unique. I remember arguing with Hollis a lot, saying that there's not enough time for our characters to talk about the plot, to argue with each other, because there's stuff exploding in the background. Being directed to Dimitri, no one's going to listen to that. We have to be short. No, and that's my thing, is like, I actually wanted this game to be a bit longer, but I feel like there's a lot more that they could have done with this game's story. I feel like, okay, this is Space Marine 2 here, right? Let me tell you something. When it comes to the Warhammer games, one of the main enemies that we usually see in every Warhammer game, right, it's always Nurgle for the most part, right? this game could have been stretched out across multiple star systems in terms of like, okay, you have the Cadians involved, right? So it could have been like, okay, it starts out with the Tyranid War, correct? The Tyranids come and attack. Now it's like, how did the Tyranids get one of these 3 planet systems or whatnot, right? Well, Z started it out, okay, and so then eventually you can move over to, I don't know, Korn, for example, or throughout the game storyline. Spoiler alert here. The Necrons. I was like, damn. When I was playing the story, I was like, are the Necrons gonna show up? Are they like, is this like big boom gonna happen? Like, this is gonna be freaking insane. And this does, like, there's so many things that you could do that they could have possibly done to stretch out the story. But here's the thing, though, is that this is the first. Well, this is a sequel to a game that's like what, 10 to 15 years later, or whatever. I think the first one came out in 2011 or 12. I could be wrong. So it's been many years since the first game. So it's like you can either push out the, what do you call it, the game lore. How can I say this? You can either, they couldn't get an estimate if this game was going to be successful or not. The example here, if the game wasn't going to be successful, then it is what it is. It's could have came and gone. But because this game has been very successful, now when it comes to like making DLC and stuff, you have, this is like that Helldivers 2 moment, right? Where you have this wave of energy that people are, enjoying this game and stuff, but now how do you keep that potential? And the problem is that because they didn't know if this game was going to be successful or not, that they could have been, working on DLC, prior, So that's the thing that's kind of interesting, is like, I can see where they're coming from with this, it's all about if the game is going to be successful or not. I mean, Warhammer's a pretty big IP, and it's still, I mean, even though it feels weird that every once in a while, the thing is with Warhammer is like, a series goes mainstream, and then it doesn't go mainstream. It only goes mainstream when like something like Space Marine comes out, But because there's a lot of Warhammer games on PC or various consoles that are strategy based and stuff. And the thing is that no one wants to how can I say, try out those other Warhammer games, unless you really want, like, you literally have to sit down and actually try them. But no one wants to do that. So that's my kind of take on that. But so far with this article, I see it though. It makes a bit of sense on why they couldn't push further. Like I said, it's all about expectations. They weren't expecting this game to be a huge hit, and now that it's a huge hit, they got to somehow keep that roller coaster riding while or rolling. I mean, while the hype is there. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this article about Space Marine 2, definitely consider like and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell down below to be notified of gaming news on this channel. Thank you for watching. Peace out, what's up, and have a good y'all. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like and also hit the bell notification down below. Thanks for watching.